Carolina just turned the so-called bye game into a 106-56 thesis on how a dynasty evolves without blinking. Fam, what's up with the squad? It's your favorite auntie when I go tendencies, and welcome back to Cess Talk Sports. Shout out to all my loyal fam to keep pulling up, and if you're new around here, welcome to the community. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell so you never miss a drop, and everybody go ahead, like, comment, share, hype this video so I know you pulled up. Now, for the cocky back recap of South Carolina's 106-56 dismantling of the Winthrop Eagles at Colonial Life Arena. This wasn't just a box score blowout. This was now for the cocky back recap of South Carolina's 106-56 dismantling of the Winthrop Eagles at Colonial Life Arena. This wasn't just a box score blowout. This was a hegemony on display, evolution in real time, and the birth of a brand new Big Three in Columbia. Tania Latson, Laddie for the Natty, Madina Okot, Mo, and Joyce Edwards, Rolls Royce, all crossing that 20-point mark like it was nothing. And listen, this was not about Winthrop, y'all. They got all the respect for taking the game and giving us 56 in CLA. Listen, they get all that respect. This was about our continued growth and development, preparation for April, and of course, next week's tournament in Las Vegas. Y'all tell me on a scale of 1 to pray for the rest of the SEC, how scared would you be to game plan for this offense after this one? Drop your number and tell me why. See, here's how it went. South Carolina, man, we walked into this game 4-0. First off, that real SEC statement win over Southern Cal out at Crypto. We went on the road and handled the top 10 team and reminded the country there's only one program that really owns those initials. Now, normally after a big headliner like that, this is the textbook trap spot. Come home, the arena's comfortable, opponents from a smaller conference. Human nature says, we got this. Let's just get through it. But the numbers told you how ridiculous the expectations were. Betting markets had South Carolina favored by over 60. Some of the models gave Winthrop a literal 0% chance to win. That's not, they probably won't win. That's, y'all, this is basically a scrimmage in the algorithm's eyes. But see, that's the trap. When everyone assumes you'll roll, the real battle stops being South Carolina versus Winthrop. It becomes South Carolina versus the standard. See, and y'all let me know, who do you think is South Carolina's standard bearer when it comes to energy and focus in these type of games? Is it Big Drip? Is it Raven? Is it Joyce? Y'all drop a name. On the other sideline, Winthrop, that's not just some random name out the schedule had, okay? They came in 2-2 trying to figure out who they are under head coach Samika Randall-Lay. You might remember her from those Tennessee days. Tough guard, part of the Lady Vols lineage, connected to coaches like Carl Lawson through that tree, okay? Their schedule told you they'd seen both ends of the spectrum. They've been blown out by a high major. They'd handled business against a lower level opponent. They won a tight one. They lost a tight one. This trip to Columbia was about calibration. If this is what the number 2 team in the country feels like, we now know where the bar sits for the Big South. And then there's the history. Back in the early 70s, when women's college basketball was still trying to find its proper stage, Winthrop actually owned this matchup. 13 of the first 19 meetings went their way. There was a time when South Carolina was the one punching up, and Winthrop was the regional force. See, fast forward to the modern era, and that script's been flipped, burned and archived. South Carolina's been rolling in these recent meetings, blowing Winthrop out by margins that look like video game scores. We came into this one having won 6 straight, including that 86-37 memory from 2015. So walking into November 19, 2025, the all-time series still technically tilts towards Winthrop by 1 game, but all the momentum, all the resources, all the pressure lives in Garnet and Black. And that's where this game gets interesting. What do you do with that kind of power? See, if you knew the final was going to be around 50 points, but didn't know how we get there, what would you have wanted to see, y'all? South Carolina emphasize defense, bench development, or let the stars cook? Y'all let me know in the comments. Now, let's talk the first quarter. It was the illusion of competition. That opened this stretch because the first 90 seconds, look, they told the story all by themselves. Winthrop controls the tip. They don't panic. They don't ISO. They run a real set. The ball swings. The spacing is solid. And the sophomore guard, Madison Ruff, sees a gap. She drives it to the teeth of the South Carolina defense, finishes at the rim. Boom. Winthrop 2, South Carolina zip. On paper, that's just a layup. But psychologically, for an underdog, those first points matter. It's a chance to say, we're not scared. For South Carolina, it's a test. How do you respond when somebody throws the first punch in your building? And the Gamecocks' answer is Q. Now watch this. See, what follows is a 16-2 avalanche that essentially ends the game in opening minutes. Tonight, Latson takes over the perimeter like she's been playing in this system for 3 years instead of just getting settled. She's turning the corner on ball screen. She's forcing help. And the second that help comes, the geometry of the floor shifts because waiting on the back line is Mo. Let's talk about Mo for a second. Mississippi State transfer, 6'6", run the floor like she's mad. The court isn't longer. See, in that first quarter, every time Winthrop defense collapsed to contain Latson, Mo was right there ducking in, sealing deep, and finishing like she's got a quoted hit before the horn. See, those two combined for 22 of South Carolina's 28 first quarter points. That's not balanced. That's targeted. That tells you Dawn Staley saw something on tape and said, we're going to break you right at your weakest points. Our speed and our size working together. Now, to Winthrop's credit, they don't immediately fold. Down 14-2, they string together a little 7-0 push. Riot Wilson knocks down the three. Naomi Wilson finds a finish inside. Later in the quarter, Maya Peerfax, listen, she shows she got beautiful range and knocks down another three. For a brief moment, the scoreboard said 14-9. You can almost feel the Eagles say, if we just keep executing, maybe we can hang around. But that's the part people miss when they glance at the blowout. See, that's that until us type of thing I be telling y'all about. Every time Winthrop scores, South Carolina don't wander the floor. We sprinting that ball out the net, hitting the wings, flipping the floor faster than the broadcast can reset the camera. Make or miss, we're in attack mode. You understand what I'm saying? By the time the first quarter horn sounds, South Carolina up 28-15. We doubled Winthrop's defensive rebounding numbers. We snatched control of the tempo, and that early 2-0 Winthrop lead feels like something you imagine. Now, when a game starts like that, underdog score first, favorite answers with a haymaker, do y'all think that's more demoralizing or more freeing for the underdog? Drop a comment. Let me know. Now let's talk to the second quarter. Defense turned the lights out. You know what I'm saying? We cut their water off. In the first quarter, it was about South Carolina's firepower. Second quarter is where the defense walks in and lock every door in the house, all the windows. Winthrop actually opened the frame with a little bit of rhythm. Ruff scored again. Porter gets a bucket. They trying to keep this thing reasonable, at least respectable. But then you start to see the layers of South Carolina's defensive system really show. We switching across actions. We denying entries. We making every catch uncomfortable. Those guards who were able to drive with attention to the first quarter are suddenly driven east and west, not north and south. And then the drought hits. I told you we cut the water off. See, for the final 4.5 minutes of the first half, Winthrop doesn't see the ball go through the net from the field. It's not that the shots are missing. It's that the shots are barely existing. Passing angles is gone. Entry passes to the block swallowed by the length of players like Joyce Edwards and Okot. The shot clock started becoming an opponent all by itself. See, while that's happening on one end, South Carolina's having a field day on the other. Tonight, Latson in particular going nuclear, but in the calmest way possible. This isn't a player jacking heat checks from 30. This is pure efficiency, reading the defense, cutting in the gaps, taking whatever the defense gives and punishing it every single time. By the break, she's sitting on 20 points, a perfect 7 for 7 from the floor. See, let that sink in. You went through. You have the guard of South Carolina roster that's already loaded, and the guard with the ball in her hands most of the time literally ain't missed. See, South Carolina closed the half on a 14-0 run, and when the buzzer sounds, it's 61-27. Gamecocks have basically spent 20 minutes showing two different faces. Explosive offense in the first, strangling defense in the second, and both are backed by depth and discipline. I want to hear from y'all hoop nerds. What's more terrifying than a national title contender? Being able to put up 60.5 or being able to hold a Division I opponent scoreless for 4+ minutes anytime you decide to lock in? Drop 60 or lock down. Y'all let me know. Halftime inside the dynasty, okay? You might look at that 30-point lead and think the locker room was all jokes and vibes. But if you know Big Drip, you know that's not how this program operates, not the standard. After the game, she talked about that halftime message. She basically said, I said a lot, but I'm not going to blow my top. I understand where they are in this type of game. But when you know, you know. What she's really saying is this. There's a difference between winning and being who you say you are. Against Southern Cal, the Gamecocks had to be locked into every possession because the margin for error was thinner. Against Winthrop, the margin is enormous. That's where complacency creeps in. That's where bad habits try to sneak into the room. So halftime becomes less about the scoreboard and more about the standard. You can imagine the question she's pushing. Are we communicating at the level we expect? Are we closing out the way we practice? Are we taking good shots just because they're open or great shots because they're ours? And remember, this team is still figuring out its identity. We got transfers like Latson and Okot blended with returners like Johnson and Edwards. We got young pieces like Agot McKeer trying to stake her claim. Dawn's line about this group fighting for their identity is so key. Even at 5-0, even at halftime up 34, she's not letting us pretend the work is done. See, if you're watching this and you coach, play, or even manage a rec team, what do you think is harder? Getting the team up emotionally for a big ranked matchup or keeping them sharp in a game everybody expects them to win by 40? Y'all talk to me in the comments. Now, third quarter, Winthrop's moral victory. Coming out of halftime, weird thing about blowouts is that both teams are dealing with totally different objectives. South Carolina is, can we maintain our habits? For Winthrop is, can we find anything here we can build on once we get back to the Big South? The third quarter ends up being Winthrop's best stretch of the game. Put up 18 points, and it's not garbage time chaos. They're actually running their stuff and seeing some success. Maya Peerfax really leans into her moment. She starts finding her shot from deep, knocking down back-to-back threes that make you sit up and say, okay, she can really go. Hey, that's a shooter right there. This isn't somebody just hitting lucky bank shots. She's shooting it confidently and clean against the number 2 team in the country. Madison Ruff keeps showing that same fearlessness she had on the very first play. She finds another tough finish in traffic, proving that initial drive wasn't a fluke. But here's the problem for Winthrop. Every time they find some daylight on one end, they're still staring at a storm on the other. Because while they're having their best offensive quarter, Joyce Edwards is starting to really put her stamp on the game. With Latson and Okot already cooking, the defense has to account for them first. That leaves Joyce pockets of space at the elbow, along the baseline, slipping in the gaps, and she knows exactly what to do with them. South Carolina dropped 24 in the third, win the period 24-18, and stretched the lead 85-45. This quarter is such a perfect microcosm. Winthrop proves that they can run sets and score against elite competition when things aren't completely tilted in transition. They show they have real weapons for conference play, but they still can't stack enough stops to make it a game again. Who impressed you more in that third quarter when you watched it back, y'all? Pure fact showing she's ready to be a Big South problem, or Joyce reminding everybody why she's that steady double-figure force every single night? Y'all let me know. By the time we hit the fourth listen, the outcome sealed up. Question shifts to development and depth. Dawn turned to the bench, and this is where we really see the sustaining the dynasty part of the story. Enter freshman Agot McKeer. If you watch this quarter on mute and just track Agot's activity, you see a player who absolutely understands the assignment. She's crashing the glass like every rebound matters, pushing the ball when she snatches it, making extra passes, and picking her spots as a scorer. She finished the night with 12 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals. That's a grown-up stat line for a young player in extended minutes. And it's not inflated, empty calorie production. It's connected to the floor of what South Carolina is doing. You're also seeing players like Adele Tack bring that relentless work on the boards, keeping possessions alive and maintaining the physical tone. Every reserve that steps on the floor is essentially being told, we don't play to score, we play to our identity. Winthrop still finds flashes. Williams opened the quarter with a jumper. Pure Facts adds her 4th 3 of the game around the 6-minute mark. They keep swinging, but the depth just keeps coming in garnet. South Carolina wins the fourth 21-11 and locks in the final margin at 106-56. I want you to imagine you're another SEC staff watching this film. Are you more concerned about what you saw from the established stars or from players like Agot and Tack off the bench? What keeps you up at night more? Y'all let me know. Now we got to talk about the headline. 3 Gamecocks over 20 points in one game. Last time that happened, South Carolina, December 2014. Asia Wilson, Elam Ibiam, and Elena Coates went 20-plus against Savannah State. That trio was a wall, all front court, all size, all paint dominance. Fast forward to this Winthrop game, and the new trio looks very different, but just as terrifying. Tonight, Latson drops 24 points with 5 boards, 4 dimes. The most impressive part isn't the volume, it's the way she did it. She set the tone in the first half with that perfect 7-for-7 stretch, but it wasn't heat check ego ball. She played within the system, attacked in transition, punished closeouts, and found teammates when the defense overcommitted. That combination of scoring, efficiency, and playmaking gives South Carolina a true perimeter engine we haven't had in exactly this form. See, Mo gives you 23 points on 10 for 12 shooting and snatches 11 rebounds with 3 blocks. That's a double-double built on violence at the rim. She's sprinting the floor, she's sealing deep, and defensively, she's erasing mistakes. There's a reason Dawn came out after the game and basically said we need dominance from her every time she steps on the floor. When your 5 can play like that, your margin for error goes through the roof. Joyce Edwards has 22 points, 5 rebounds, and the beauty of her game is that she's the bridge. She's the one who lives in between the guard and the center, scoring from the mid-range, cutting at the right time, slipping into space when the defense is preoccupied with Latson and Okot. She came into this game as the reigning SEC Player of the Week, and all she did was continue her streak of double-figure scoring like it's just another day at work. Together, they form a 3-level headache, a perimeter creator, a dominant interior anchor, and a versatile forward who can hurt you from all the in-between spots. Y'all rank that trio in terms of who you think is the hardest to game plan for. 1, 2, 3. No shade, just hoop talk. Who scares you the most on the scouting report and why? Now, we can't talk about a 106-point night and a 3-headed scoring monster without talking about the conductor. Raven Johnson finished this game with 3 points. And somehow that might be one of the coldest stat lines of the night because right next to that 3 is a double-digit number, 10 assists. Raven controlled the whole environment. She didn't need to score to dominate. She read every shift of the defense, found the hot hands, and delivered the ball exactly where it needed to go. When you have 3 teammates crossing 20 and you the one spoon feed them, you are the system. This is what makes South Carolina so dangerous long term. You got a point guard who can absolutely score when needed. But on a night like this, she decided the best thing for the team is to be a pure floor general, and she leans all the way into that. If you're watching this on replay, jump in the comments and tell me, What do you think is Ravens' most underrated skill? Her vision, her leadership, or her defense? Let's zoom out and look at why this turned into a 50-point margin beyond just South Carolina has better players. Winthrop shot about 35% for the field. On his face, that's not disgraceful against an elite defense. But when you dig into the film, almost none of those makes are easy looks, right? South Carolina is pushing them late into the shot clock, forcing contested jumpers instead of rhythm catch and shoot opportunities. On the glass, South Carolina posted 46-24 rebounding edge. That plus 22 margin is basically a control panel readout, okay? Gamecocks are dictating everything. When you're ending almost every defensive possession with one shot and a board, and then turning your own misses into second chance points, the other team never gets a chance to really breathe. Turnovers? Okay, listen. South Carolina forced 15. Not some wild 40 turnover press clinic. It's controlled pressure, and the timing of those giveaways hurts. Every time Winthrop starts to feel a little rhythm, a jump pass gets picked, a lazy swing is deflected, and suddenly it's 2 points the other way before they can even process what happened. Defense, rebounding, and opportunistic turnovers. That's the math of a blowout that still feels disciplined. Now, Winthrop has some takeaways, okay? Calibration, not humiliation. I told y'all. We got to give them their proper respect here, too. Because this kind of game can either break you or sharpen you. For the Eagles, this trip was about seeing the highest level up close. See, Fairfax walked out of CLA with 16 points and 4 made threes on 50% shooting from deep against one of the best defenses in the country. That's something you put on your Big South scouting report in bold red ink. You hear me? If she can do that here, she can be a problem in the conference. Madison Rupp ended with 10 points, including that first fearless drive. She showed over and over that she's willing to challenge size and length. Porter puts in 8 and battles inside all night, even when she's outsized by players like Okot and Edwards. And for Coach Samika Randall-Lay, this gives her film that's honest. There's nowhere to hide, no way to pretend that there's something they're not. She can go back to her group and say, these are the little wins we can build on, and these are the gaps we have to address if we want to win the Big South. So while the scoreboard screams blowout, the deeper story for Winthrop is calibration. If we can execute pieces of our offense in this environment, we can absolutely execute in ours. For South Carolina, this win moves us to 5-0. Polls stay happy, country shrugs a little because they expect this now, but internally, this game gives us a few huge data points. First, the offensive ceiling, higher than a lot of people thought coming into the year. Dropping 106 without turning the game into pickup ball says the spacing, decision-making, and chemistry real. You got portal stars and homegrown talent, not just coexisting, but amplifying each other. Second, the identity conversation evolves. Dawn keeps saying this team is fighting for its identity. Games like this show what that identity might be. Ruthless efficiency, multiple primary scorers, anchored by defensive rebounding, with a point guard who's willing to be whatever the game calls for. Third, you now got a big three that forces defensive coordinators into bad choices. If you pack the paint to slow down Okot, Latson and Edwards are going to slice and shoot you to death. If you extend your pressure to contain Latson and shade toward Joyce, you're leaving Okot alone and on an island. If you're a coach trying to scheme South Carolina, what's your poison? Do you try to take away the paint and live with jumpers? Or do you chase shooters and pray your help defense can stand firm inside? Y'all let me know your coaching philosophy, okay? At the end of the day, this game was exactly what the model said it would be in terms of result. South Carolina blowout over a mid-major opponent. But the way we got there, that's what mattered. We saw a historic scoring trio etched into the Gamecock record books in a brand new form. We saw a transfer center announce herself as a force you have to game plan around every single night. We saw a star freshman forward continue her steady rise. We saw a freshman like Agot McKeer use real minutes to prove she's not just a rotation filler; she's part of the future. And we saw a point guard put up 3 points in scoring while she absolutely controlled the game. On the other side, we saw a mid-major program take its lumps, but also find its leaders and its identity checkpoints in a hostile environment. This is what it looks like when a dynasty moves from we're building something to we know exactly who we are and we're evolving on the fly. All right, fam, make sure you drop a comment with your thoughts on South Carolina's tactical dismantling of Winthrop and this new big three. Don't forget that hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell, and share this video with somebody who loves the Gamecocks. Catch y'all next time on Cess Talk Sports, where we're always bringing you the latest on the rising stars and the legends in the making. Keep pooping. Stay tuned. Talk soon, y'all. I'm out.